It's like the same principle as a television. The only place that television exists as we perceive television, which is programs on the screen, in pictures, is on the screen. Everywhere else, television is frequency fields and electrical circuits. The only place that the internet exists as we perceive the internet, in graphics and texts and websites, is on the computer screen. Everywhere else, they are electronic circuits, etc. And our reality is a reality that we decode from frequency fields into, apparently, a physical world, but it's just a holographic illusion. And therefore, if you know that that's what we're doing, and the population have no idea that that's what they're doing, you are suddenly in an extraordinarily powerful place to manipulate how we perceive reality en masse. I mean, these pictures, very simple pictures, are actually flat pictures on a pavement, which look three-dimensional because of the way our brain reads them. That pinky color is exactly the same in both lines, but our brain reads them differently because of the way it's laid out and the colors around them. Most people will read this as a bird in the bush because that's what it appears to say. It actually says a bird in the bush. The brain has decoded it on the basis of what it thinks should be there. Some people will see optical at the top, some people will see illusion. Some people will see good, some people will see evil. It's the way our brain decodes reality. These are real simple examples, but it gets much more complex. As Einstein said, reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. This world that we think is kind of infinite is like a television channel, holographic television channel. In the space that I'm occupying now are all the television channels and radio station frequencies broadcasting to Oxford. I can't see them, they can't see each other because they're operating on different wavelengths. You get a television or a radio and tune it to one of those wavelengths, bingo, that's your station, that's your reality. Move the dial, another station, new reality, but the station you've just moved from hasn't ceased to broadcast, it's simply broadcasting in exactly the same way, but you're not tuned to it anymore. These physical bodies lock us in to a frequency range, a lens through which we perceive reality, which we call the physical world. In the same space that we're occupying are infinite other frequencies of reality, and we ourselves, in terms of consciousness, are infinite. But when we work through a physical body, that infinite consciousness that we are works through a tiny lens. I guess it's about experience, who knows? And when you start to identify that this body, this vehicle, this biological computer is who we are, you get locked in the 5 sense prison pretty damn fast. Once you realize you are consciousness having an experience through this physical body, your mind starts to open and see that we are infinite, not Bill Bloggs or Charlie Smith, I've got no power, I'm just Joe Public. There's a wonderful American comedian. Have you come across this guy, Bill Hicks? Genius he was. And he said this as part of a joke, but he was a very profound man. All matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration. We're all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There's no such thing as death, life is just a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. And the key to mass control is the manipulation of the imagination of ourselves. the manipulation of how we decode reality into the perception of the world we see. People say seeing is believing. Actually, believing is seeing, because our belief systems affect the way the brain decodes reality. Endless research on this to show that that's the case. As William Blake said, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. But through the lens of the physical body, particularly the manipulated one, it seems anything but that. It seems that everything's apart from everything else and there is no unity. As this guy, H.M. Tomlinson, said, we see things not as they are, but as we are. And if you can manipulate what we are, you manipulate the way we see the world. And we are encouraged to see the world in a state of division, of apartness. I am apart from you. I have no connection because you're there and there's space in between us. This is where the unity disappears and you get into a thing where it's dog eat dog and every man for himself. Competition, I must win. Division. When we are all one consciousness, experiencing itself subjectively, having an experience through different physical forms. But we are one consciousness that has been set at war with itself by the manipulation of divide and rule and all these other things. The body's a biological computer. It has the ability to think to a very high level itself. And if we drop into what I call body consciousness, where we perceive everything only through the five senses, then we lock into that body level of consciousness which can perceive only this world. And sees the world in terms of division, of apartness, of disunity. When we become conscious, you start to see that everything is one. We're all expressions of each other. René Descartes, talking about self-identity, said, I think, therefore I am. I would suggest it's more like, I compute, therefore I am. Because these computers are programmable. You can program them to decode reality in a way that suits the agenda. And they have massively. Someone like Paul McKenna, simple things that he does, programs the brain to decode reality in the way that it has been manipulated and programmed to do so. Whether you saw this thing on Top Gear some years ago, where he got this guy Hammond in this car through hypnosis to believe that he was driving a real Porsche 911. And when Clarkson drove another toy car into it, he reacted as if he'd just done it to his real car. And many other things that he did under hypnosis. Why? Because he had been implanted with a belief which then edited his reality to fit the belief. And this is happening on a mass scale. The human race, overwhelmingly, is under mass hypnosis, programmed to see itself and the world in a certain way. Humanity, asleep. When people start to get it, and start to see the world in a much different way, they use this term, they say, I woke up. Exactly. Waking up from the trance we've been put into. And what's the biggest hypnotist on planet Earth? The box in the corner of the room, which is constantly telling us what to believe is real, what to believe is possible, what to believe is right, what to believe is wrong, what to believe is moral and immoral, what to believe. Hypnosis is what it is. We see things not as they are, but as